Magtech Cowboy action loads in 38 special and 44 special. I recently tested the HSM version of their Cowboy loads, and those were a 158 grain 38 special and a 200 grain 44 special. We have a little bit different weight on our 44 special with our Magtech. Our 38 special is still a 158 grain, but our 44 special is a 240 grain. So these are both lead flat points. I'm going to use my 4-inch barrel Smith & Wesson revolvers to test these. My 4-inch Smith & Wesson 686 is actually a 4 1/8 inch, and my 4 1/4 inch Smith & Wesson Model 69 to test the 44 special. So our 38 special is rated at 800 feet per second, and our 44 special is rated at 725 feet per second. I do find it kind of funny and interesting that these loads have a crimp halfway down the cartridge there to make them kind of appear like 4440 cartridges. That's kind of neat and interesting. But we're going to go through the chronograph, see what kind of velocity and accuracy I get at the same time. Then I'm going to do my plain clear ballistic test. So we're just going to go into plain 10% clear ballistics to see what we get for our, penetration. What's the best potential for penetration? Then after that, I'm going to do a real world simulation where I'm going to have 4 layers of denim on this first 3-inch piece that represents our pectoral muscle. After that, a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum. 16 more inches of clear ballistics, and then another 1/4 inch MDF to represent hitting back ribs. So clear ballistics is roughly a half representation of the density of flesh. So when we're talking 3 inches and 16 inches, it's more like 1.5 inches and 8 inches in real flesh. So we're really trying to simulate between the front of this and the back ribs about a 9.5 inch target with ribs in there. So we'll do our ballistics gel test, and then I am going to shoot at the steel target to see what kind of practical accuracy and shootability I can get with these. So let's get started with this test. All right, first up we have our 38 special 158 grain flat nose lead. We were rated at 800 feet per second. Let's see what I get in my Model 686. See how close I get to 800 feet per second. $765, 804, 750, 805, 779, 786. So a little bit below rated velocity, but I'm really liking the accuracy those are giving me. Our 44 special 240 grain flat point, lead flat point. We were rated at 725 feet per second. Let's see what we get in my Model 69 here. See how close I get to 725. $602, 686, 695, 654, 656. So the first one was definitely quite low. Case ejection is really great with these. Yeah, about what I expect. Mid 600s, not too bad overall. That's roughly what the velocity of the HSM was, except instead of a 240 grain like this is a instead of a 240 grain, like I was gonna say, it was a 200 grain. So these are definitely a little bit more powerful. So let's hit our ballistics gel block and see how these compare. All right, our first shot in the plain clear ballistics, our best potential shot for penetration. So I did put up a blanket backstop because I'm expecting quite a bit of penetration. So let's see what we get here with our 38 special. All right, put that with our 44 special. Let's go take a look. That really surprised me. I thought for sure that 44 was going to pass right through this whole thing. That's interesting. Our 38 special, it went pretty deep and then it arced down and hit the bottom of the shelf here. But with our 38 special, we went to 27.5 inches of penetration. So that's some pretty good penetration for a low-powered cartridge. Our 44 special, and the only thing I can think is it probably tumbled, or else it would have went right through both of these blocks. So we went right to 25 inches with our 44 special. So very interesting here. and that our 38 went deeper. So let's put on our rib simulations, put on our denim, even though the denim's redundant, and see how these compare in our real world simulation. All right, our real world simulation: 4 layers of denim followed by 3 inches of clear ballistics to represent our pectoral muscle, followed by a 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting ribs or sternum, 16 more inches of clear ballistics, and then another 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard to represent hitting back ribs. Let's see how our 38 special does. All right, set that with our 44 special. Let's go take a look. All right, so our 38 outperformed that 44 again. This 44, it's bulging the side of that. That almost came out. But honestly, when I look at this first 3 inches, there's just a tad more energy dump with our 38 versus our 44. In the plain clear shot, it was about the same. And then going through our rib simulation, these are flat points. So I'm hoping they're going flat or straight still, and they definitely are, punching right through straight. So interesting here, our 38 special, I've not seen this quite happen before yet, where a cartridge just barely punches out the back of that. So yeah, I'm gonna say it went to 20 inches. Because, well, that says 19.5 when I look at that, but you know, the MDF is in the way. So cut that bullet there. And our 44 special, interesting here, this is not what I would consider over penetration, because we hit 18.25 inches of penetration. So after going through ribs, that didn't go that far. And a lot of people that have looked at my videos, especially Dan the Wolfman, pointed this out to me. And I did look up a bunch of information on this, and he was right with what he was seeing. For whatever reason, clear ballistics with 1 layer of 1/4 inch medium density fiberboard in here brings the penetration numbers of clear ballistics almost exactly to organic gel penetration numbers. So if you go through one MDF and see 18 inches, it's basically 18 inches. So looking at this from, you know, a statistical standpoint here, our 44 special would be a pretty good self-defense cartridge. Our 38, I'm not saying it would be bad, but it does penetrate a little bit further than what I'm wanting to see. So one thing though I'm seeing about this that I really like is they're both consistent. I'm not seeing it as big of velocity spreads as I see with other ammo. And you know, we had some pretty consistent differences in the penetration, so it looks consistent overall. So very nice. Let's pull these out of the block. We'll take a close-up look at them, and I'll shoot our steel, see what kind of practical accuracy and shootability I can get with these. All right, so here's a close-up look at these bullets going through a plain gel, our 38 special and our 44 special. So here's a close-up look at that 38 special. Very, very long bullet. Our 44 special, a little bit different design there. Now when we go through our rib simulation and our denim, everything kind of changes up a little bit. Both of these got some deformation and rounding, but the 44 deformed quite a bit more than its starting shape. So our 38 special, you can see marks on the nose there from it going through denim. A little bit of a denim pattern. But not really a whole lot changed to that bullet. Even though this one actually did hit 2 rib simulations. This one only hit 1 rib simulation, and the nose has been rounded quite a bit more. You can see the impacts from the denim there compared to its starting size and shape. Quite a bit different there, so it flattened probably from a little bit extra energy that it was working with. As we're with our, you know, 38 here, the MDF one and the one through plain gel, not a big difference there. So very, very interesting here. That's a close-up look at those bullets. All right, 14 yards from the target. I'm just going to see how these things shoot for me. I think a lot of people want to look at this as, well, those are cowboy action shooting loads, and that's not cowboy action shooting. And I'm not here to do any of that. I'm here to just evaluate it as either target ammo or as personal defense ammo, how it shoots. So that's really all I'm doing. So 14 yards from the target. I'm going to get a front sight picture, pop these off as fast as I think I can hit the target. So let's see how our 38 special does. Very shootable ammo. 44 special. All right, it takes a little bit more effort to really line that up, but not by a lot. I would say this 44 shoots a little bit lighter than typical 45 ACP. So it definitely shoots really nice out of this particular revolver. So let me back it up and see how these continue to shoot from some more distance. All right, 40 yards from the target, our dick and drill distance. I'm not going to do the dick and drill, but I do just want to see how these things will shoot from 40 yards for me. So 38 special. All right, not too bad. I almost missed one there. 44 special. Let's see how this does. All right, so those are hitting a little bit high point of impact. I see that a lot with rounds that are really heavy and really slow because you get a little bit of muzzle rise, especially with revolvers, before that bullet leaves the muzzle. So then at the moment it fires, you get this little bit of recoil and then it comes out just a tad higher, and then over distance it multiplies to where by the time it reaches 40 yards, you're up a foot from where you thought you were aiming. So not bad overall. Let's back up. I want to see how I do from 75 yards. All right, 75 yards from the target, mostly just for fun. Let's see how I can do with our 38 special here. See how these things will do for me. All right, so I think those are shooting just a little bit to the left for me because I had to aim really, really far right and high. Keep going with these. All right, not too bad overall. 44 special. See how this does. This should hit the steel harder. All right, I pulled one. I'm not really sure where I pulled it to, but I would say definitely the point of aim and impact with these 44 specials is actually quite good. So this stuff really surprises me in a lot of ways. The thing that stands out more than anything else I'll talk about right now is that 44 special. It had decent velocity for a 240 grain cowboy action load. We had decent accuracy, like practical accuracy. And when our caliber ballistics test and our terminal ballistics test, we didn't really get what I would consider much for over penetration. I mean, I've seen defensive loads stop at those distances multiple times after going through a rib simulation, and I'm not really seeing a whole lot, bad about this 44 special. It just seems like a really easy to shoot, practically accurate round that's doing fantastic as far as a personal defense load would go. Now our 38 Special here, this is definitely more in line with what I would say is a target load. But as far as terminal ballistics goes, if we were going to use this as a self-defense cartridge, it actually did pretty well for what it is, because we had a good amount of penetration. There's likely going to be some tumbling at some point in a target, and it didn't go to extreme over penetration depths. So why that's important. A lot of people think that over penetrating, I'm obsessed with it because I think somebody's going to get hit on the other side of a person, and that's not where I'm coming from. What I'm coming from is if you zip a cartridge right through something, like if I would go through 2-3 gel blocks, that would indicate that it's not putting a whole lot into the area you want to hit in terms of either expansion or the bullet destabilizing and tumbling or slowing down from a huge frontal area, because all those things will create more damage in a target, which will create better stopping power. And if you take something, you just zip it right through straight with very little damage in there, and it over penetrates, well, that's the first sign that it's not something you should really use for self-defense, because it's likely to create the tiniest hole possible and not cause a lot of tissue damage. As where if you see something that doesn't go through super quickly and you see some damage in there, like we're seeing with this 38 Special or this 44 Special, that's going to tell you, as far as the personal defense round goes, it's not bad. And with our accuracy up close, I was really kind of surprised. I was getting like dime-sized groups, double action at 5 yards. First few shots there, and that's really surprising to me. So it did quite well in terms of that. So overall, I'm going to say this is pretty good ammo overall, but our 44 definitely stands out to me as being better. So very interesting. That's what you get today. So as always, comment, share, and like, and thanks for watching. Yeehaw.